What is up, you sexy YouTube mother lovers? As you might notice, today's video looks a little different. That's because it's being shot on a tripod. Because frankly, DeLance did not want to be here, because last time somebody filmed with one of these, it did not end well for the camera person. I'm just kidding, I paid DeLance way too much to be here. But this, what we are filming with today, is the model 1873 Colt Single Action Army in .45 Long Colt, made by Pietta. This is the revolver that appears to have been used in the infamous incident involving Alec Baldwin on the set of Rust. Not this exact revolver, that one is probably in an evidence locker. Today we're going to be putting a couple of myths to the test as far as like with this revolver. Can it be fired without pulling the trigger like Alec Baldwin claims it was? But aside from that, this is just a wonderful piece of history. So we're going to respect it for that because this was a very cool weapon before it was used by some Hollywood dipshit to shoot someone. So with that in mind, let's channel our inner Emilio Estevez from Young Guns and put this through her paces. There's a new sheriff in town, and he hasn't ruled out manslaughter charges. Now, if you guys recognized and or liked the song that we used for that montage there, you should probably subscribe. I feel like you'll like it here. The .45 Long Colt Single Action Army is one of the most iconic handguns of the American West. So iconic, it's used very often in Western films, including the new film, possibly still coming out, called Rust, starring Alec Baldwin. On October 21st, 2021, actor Alec Baldwin used this particular model of firearm in an accidental/negligent discharge that killed his cinematographer and wounded his director. In later interviews, he claimed that he didn't pull the trigger and that the pistol went off by itself. We're gonna put that to the test. But real quick, we'd like to thank the people who allowed us to get this prop for the channel.
Today's sponsor is Rise of Kingdoms. This month, Rise of Kingdoms is trying to focus on civilizations. Are you a Roman Empire guy or kind of more the Viking blood? In Rise of Kingdoms, you decide. I fall more on the Roman side just because, well, Caesar's Legion was awesome.
Degenerates like you belong on a cross.
There are 12 total civilizations in the game. Rome, Germany, Ottoman, Byzantium, Vikings, etc. Every civilization has its unique soldiers, architecture, commanders, and its own buff. Like a traditional strategy game, upgrade your buildings, train your soldiers, cultivate your commanders, and research technology to improve your combat power. The battle scenes in Rise of Kingdoms allow you to experience distinctive soldiers and generals of 12 different civilizations. Thanks to different talents and characteristics, they can counter each other, which gives a stronger strategic experience. Join the battle and turn the tide with whatever of the 12 civilizations you decide is the strongest. The best part is, if you download now using my link in the description and in the pinned comment, you can get a special bonus and limited time rewards. Thanks again to Rise of Kingdoms for supporting my channel and my content. Now, back to the video.
So now, of course, just like any other range video we do, it's time to show you the power of the .45 Long Colt cartridge out of one of these Colt Single Action Armies. Except instead of our typical White Claw penetration test, we now have, for this particular video, 2 White Claws spaced an appropriate distance apart for no reason that is relevant to this particular, All right, halting production in 3, 2, 1. That's weird. A blank round? I don't know how that got on set. Weird, I'm gonna have to take that one up with the producer. Anyway, actually doing this test in 3, 2, 1. God, I love Western revolvers. This brass is expensive. All right, so we have our first claw here. We had entrance here and an exit here. Some interesting rippling going on in the stamped aluminum here on the claw. And then we had our second claw, which This would have been entrance here and exit here, of course, with plenty of energy to keep going. The loads that we're using today are cowboy loads. They're just a solid lead projectile where your standard pistol rounds are going to be full metal jacket, you know, some sort of copper, zinc coating, something, instead of just solid lead, where these are more cowboy loads. They're a little more appropriate to use on kind of period pieces. Older style revolvers weren't really built to handle the pressures of modern cartridges, so you use things that are slightly downloaded. They don't carry necessarily as much velocity, but still, they clearly pack a decent punch with a very, very heavy projectile. One could say much more energy than the typical blank round that should be used on every Hollywood set. Moving on. So in the accidental shooting in question involving this gun, Alec Baldwin in later interviews more recently has claimed that he did not pull the trigger, as he would never point a weapon at anyone and pull the trigger. Now, those of us with a basic understanding of firearms and or physics knows that at least one of those two things is physically impossible, and or both, considering that a live firearm was discharged and hit a person, actually 2 people. But now let's go ahead and test to see if it is possible to fire this weapon without having pulled the trigger. Now, one of the things on the 45 Long Colt Single Action Army model 1873 in particular, it has a protruding firing pin into the area of the frame of the gun where the cylinder rests. You see, on a centerfire cartridge, this little spot here in the middle of the back of the casing is the primer. This is what ignites the round and causes it to fire. Only when it's struck by the firing pin. Now, if you pull the hammer back, you see this little bit right here is the firing pin that strikes the primer and causes the weapon to discharge. Now, on this revolver, when the hammer's all the way forward, you can see that the firing pin is actually visible through the side as protruding into the area where the casings are, where it strikes the primer. So let's go ahead and load our live round. We have a otherwise empty revolver here. I'm showing you I'm doing a basic safety check because I'm responsible for what happens on the set of my videos. Loading our one live round here, advancing that round into the position where it will be next. Go ahead and lightly let that hammer forward, and we are now sitting on a live round. So let's see if we can go ahead and get this to go off. So as you can see now, my finger is nowhere near the trigger. We have a live round aligned with the barrel and the hammer here, and I don't have a hammer. I meant to bring a hammer out here to just show that, see if you can get this to go off without fucking puncturing the side of my hand with a sharp ass hammer. But seeing if you can get this to just go off from sheer just impact force or anything alone. Now, I don't have a hammer, but the closest thing I had in my truck was an AK magazine, which for all intents and purposes, it's basically the right tool for the job, I think. All I am succeeding in doing is fucking up the knurling on a brand new, previously unfired revolver. Trying again now, still finger off the trigger, a little bit up more from the bottom to get kind of more direct impact on this, this hammer surface here. Nothing. So let's go ahead and inspect this cartridge. And if you look there, actually, we have a little bit of an indent on the back of the primer. I think you guys can agree that was a little bit of an extreme example. I don't think he was taking an AK mag and beating the back of his revolver with a live round in the chamber, or what was supposed to be a blank round, or whatever. You would have to be really, really, really beating on the back of that thing to make an indent like we did. Now, why is that? So the Piettas in particular, I don't know about other reproductions, and I especially don't know about the original model Colts, but the Pietta, like was specifically mentioned, was used by Alec Baldwin, have a firing pin here that is not fixed. So as you look here, it has a bit of give to it. I'm not sure if it's spring-loaded, but it has a bit of give so that when it's resting on that, it can move a little bit, so it's not directly converting pressure or impact into energy into the primer. And just to prove to you, of course, this isn't a hit piece. That is the round that we had made indentations on. I'm gonna go ahead and load this and prove that this is an actual live round and could be fired under normal circumstances. There you go. So let's try another method. So we're gonna load up another live round here into the chamber, advance that forward, and now, as you can see here with the brass here, we are rotating that into place where that is now square behind the hammer. So the other possibility, and I think this is what Alec Baldwin is claiming happened, is he was practicing his cross draw and was pulling the hammer back, didn't pull the hammer back all the way, released it back forward, and that is what discharged the round. Which still doesn't explain why he was pointing a live firearm at another human being, but you know what, semantics, that's for the lawyers to decide. Right now, we're just gonna determine if that is a possible scenario, in which case this gun can fire. So we're gonna test that here. You know, put this to the test while we're in a, controlled and safe environment. YouTube, we are in a controlled and safe environment. Alrighty, let's give this a shot. So the trick is gonna be pulling this back to the point where it doesn't start advancing the cylinder. All right, so it seems that point's about here. So let's try to... I don't think we're gonna get anywhere on that. And for those asking why we couldn't go farther back and advance it to the next one, because these have something called half cock. So if you, let's go ahead and get that live round out of there so I can demonstrate this. Again, partially struck, you can actually see where this has had multiple impacts from that free-floating firing pin on the primer, but none of which were even remotely strong enough to actually strike the round. Next time I fire this, I'm gonna show you guys so you can see what an actual struck round looks like. This is definitely making an impact, but it's nowhere close to being something that is fireable. So when your hammer's all the way forward, okay, you pull it back, that's full cock, right? Giggity. Half cock is when you pull it halfway back, and it has a little catch here, and this allows you to freely rotate the cylinder. Like if you've seen me pulling out the fired brass on this, I have it at half cock. This is just kind of a safety that allows the cylinder to freely move while not in danger of firing a round. It is also important to point out that you cannot pull the trigger on half cock. Because the cylinder is freely moving, if you fired any one of these rounds without it being perfectly aligned with the barrel, that's a great way to explode, which is why they do not allow you to pull the trigger while you have it in this setting. And if you pull the hammer any farther back than half cock without going to full cock, it just sets you right back to half cock. So that impact has to be made before you get to half cock, and realistically, it has to be before that cylinder starts to rotate. Otherwise, that primer does not align with the firing pin, so it doesn't even matter. So it has to be in this range here. All right, now, of course, just to show you, this is the round that we were striking earlier. This is still a live round. I am not flubbing anything. Put that back in the gun, and it is fireable. That is what a round looks like when it has been struck. So you see the indentation on the primer is significantly deeper. Something, the gun likes it when it's deeper, I don't know. Now I'm gonna load up 3 more rounds real quick because I'm gonna demonstrate what I think might have actually happened. I think this is the most plausible theory outside of intentional homicide, which I'd like not to think about. And quick shout out to Tim from Military Arms Channel, because I think he just did a video, I think like a day before we filmed this, and I think he had a similar theory as to mine. I'm moving to an empty cylinder real quick just to demonstrate. On these old revolvers, it is possible to already have your finger on the trigger and not pull the trigger, but just have pressure on the trigger and pull the hammer back and completely miss the sear that disconnects the trigger there. So it is entirely possible that Mr. Baldwin was not actively like pulling the trigger, but just had his finger in the right place, drew his revolver, and fired a round. I'm not going to demonstrate that from a draw, just because that's basically swinging around a loaded gun with your finger on the trigger and a live round in the chamber. That's safe, and as it turns out, not good for your staff. But this in particular is why it is popular in Western movies to be able to fan revolvers. That is what allows that to happen. Now, of course, that's just my theory. If I'm incorrect and if I've been completely wrong on all this, I owe Alec Baldwin an apology, and I'll man up to that, but so far this seems like the most likely thing to me. This, of course, still does not explain why there was live ammunition on set for any reason, especially since he was not just an actor in the film, but also the producer, you know, the kind of person whose job it is to make sure shit like this doesn't happen and that there isn't live ammo on set. It does not account for the failures of the people whose responsibility it was to make sure shit like this couldn't happen in the first place, the armorers, etc. I just kind of hope, as with Darwin Awards, this just goes to show you guys that you need to respect firearms no matter what state they're in or whatever state you're told they're in. You need to verify. If somebody says a gun isn't loaded and they hand it to you, you don't just start willy-nilly pulling the trigger. You verify, you look through, you do the basic safety checks, and that applies to everybody, not just gun guys, but anybody who is handling a firearm, period. I feel like I accidentally might have gotten kind of preachy there, so I'm gonna use this prop gun here and take out this can of Shiner Light Blonde. As a new Texan, I think it's important that I defend the good name of Shiner Bock. Get rid of this shit. Don't worry, Shiner, the prop department told me this is unloaded. Okay, I purposely angled that so I might hit the steel target behind that, and I totally fucking heard it. I don't know if that came through on camera. Fuck, apparently all I have to do to hit targets at fucking 30 yards is shoot through a beer first. Anyhow, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you thought my theory at least makes a little bit of sense in this context. Of course, none of us outside of Mr. Baldwin and literally everybody else who was there on set that day, and probably a handful of attorneys, will ever know what actually happened that day. But if you have your own theory, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. That's all I got for you today. I'm gonna go ahead and put this big iron back on my wall. I appreciate you guys watching to the end, and as always, I will see you sexy YouTube mother lovers in the next video. Thanks. Is this just like this fucking Cessna Appreciation Club route, like, out today? What the fuck?